Hey there, ever see a headline screaming that the government just blew billions on something ridiculous? Okay, a unicorn float is actually useful. While the country's drowning in debt? Yeah, sounds crazy. But what if I told you pretty much every country on earth is in debt? Japan owes twice as much as its entire economy. And the US, sitting on a sweet $36 trillion tab and still going strong. Sounds insane, right? But there's a reason for it. Actually, several. Ever wonder why countries don't just print more money? Or how they can even have debt without collapsing? And who are they borrowing from anyway? Let's talk about it. National debt is basically how much a federal government owes. Just like you take out a loan, governments borrow money, just on a way bigger scale. They borrow from banks, other countries, and even regular people. But this doesn't include state debt or personal debt like your credit cards. Just what the central government owes. Imagine your country with a credit card the size of the moon. And yes, it's maxed out. So why borrow so much? Why not just cut spending, or raise taxes, or launch a GoFundMe? Governments borrow for 5 main reasons. 1. They're short on cash. That's a budget deficit. 2. They want to invest, build roads, hospitals, schools. 3. Emergencies, wars, pandemics, natural disasters. 4. To pay off old debt. Yep, rolling over loans like a pro. And 5. To manage inflation and interest rates. Debt's not just a bill, it's a tool. Now think about it. Would you rather live in a country that has shiny new hospitals and good schools, but owes a few trillion, or one that's debt-free, but your classroom is a parking lot? So who lends this insane amount of money to countries? Well, there are 3 main sources. First, local people. Anyone can buy government bonds, which is basically lending money to your country. Second, foreign banks and governments. And third, the central bank. Although that's more complicated and usually indirect. And when things get really bad, there's always the IMF. The emergency lifeline with strings attached. It's kind of like that friend who's in debt to everyone, but somehow still gets invited out and never pays for coffee. Now, is national debt a bad thing? Depends. If it's used to grow the economy, cool. If it's just stacking up to cover other debt, not so cool. Too much debt can scare off investors, spike interest rates, tank your credit score, and cause a full-on economic meltdown. So let's pause. Would you trust a country that never borrows, or one that knows how to use debt like a lever? Sometimes debt isn't the villain. It's just the misunderstood anti-hero. So, how much debt is too much? Economists often look at the debt-to-GDP ratio. If a country makes $100 billion a year and owes $60 billion, its ratio is 60%. That's considered fairly safe. But there's no golden number. Even the US has a debt ceiling, a limit they hit all the time, and raise every time, because defaulting is not a good look. Can a country ever be completely debt-free? Technically, yes, but in reality, almost never. And honestly, most don't even want to be. Cutting debt to zero would mean brutal spending cuts or massive tax hikes. That slows growth and makes people very angry. Also, if there's no debt, there are no government bonds. And without those, pensions lose their safest investment option. Goodbye, stable retirement. So here's the big idea. Debt is a double-edged sword. Used wisely, it helps a country grow. Used recklessly, it can crash everything. Next time someone panics over national debt, just ask, okay, but is the country managing it right? Because the issue isn't having debt, it's not knowing how to use it. And if you enjoyed learning about the economy through silly drawings and oddly specific questions, subscribe. Your brain might like this more than you think.